right here. This is, I know you can't see it real
Yeah,
clearly.
we can. We got it.
This is March on my calendar on one of my Gmail accounts, and these have been going this way for years, um, since the first version of the Ranking Factory came out. Um, and like I said, they're still every day creating new events. Um, but it was not nearly as quick or as much automation, and certainly not as much power as it has now. As we've learned what all we can add in, what all we can use to power it up, or for it to power up our other properties. So it's evolved, but it's always been powerful to just sit back and let Google Calendar uh, basically whistle and have Google bots come running several times a day to your properties.
Cool. And then we had the same experience with Sheets in the RFR, right? Which was unique at the moment. I'm just kind of giving everybody a little history so they can see how we migrate things from one to the next when we enhance the features instead of just doing it that way. We break them out, right? And so we had Sheets, which is Google Sheets, and that was the very first backlink factory, just as a history lesson for everybody, but it was in RFR and it is still in the Ranking Factory, which is a tool on its own that does a lot of other things that this stuff doesn't do, but it doesn't matter. I just want everybody to understand the genesis. So when you extract something out and then you build around it, it's not necessarily as easy and many times harder than just building it from scratch, right?
Yeah, for one, you have those expectations, and somebody goes, "Well, I've already been using your sheets in your RFR. Why do I want Backlink Factory?" You say, "Well, because as Sheets has gotten better by Google, we've also gotten better at using it, and Ranking Factory would be so bloated, you'd never get it to work right if it had the fullest versions of each of these separate modules." So as these modules are taken out, and Chris and Gary and Patrick are good about, if you give them a good idea, hey, I've been trying this. Can we make that a part of it? And adding in new features as we find new or better ways to use things. And that's how we got like Google Slides in a lot of the stuff and things like that. People play and go, hey, not just Google Docs, not just Google Sites. Look what else we can do. So the fact that not just that the software has evolved, but that it will continue to evolve as new things come up, as Google makes changes or adds new things, new tools. It's just I'm proud to say I helped get the Mega Cloud Stacker going by talking about putting it in RF Ranking Factory at the beginning, and they added the little cloud module. And the more, then suddenly there was not just the 3 clouds we always started with. There was more and more and more. Now there's dozens
10. I think
out,
there's 10.
you
10.
know. So you've got Mega Cloud, which allows you to play with all those, a whole bunch of clouds. So the software does evolve, and calendars have evolved, and this is the latest evolution. And the best thing about calendars is not the power you get, it's the time you save to get that power. So
Right. So basically what we've done is we've created, from the Ranking Factory product, which is a Volkswagen. And from that Volkswagen, and ideas like everybody here, as you go through this, the idea is that people keep throwing and throwing and throwing and throwing at us. Okay, now it's evolved into what it is. So the calendar that's in RFR is second grade, and the calendar that we have here today built is like second year college, if that makes a good analogy to everybody. Okay. All right, cool. Well, yeah, thank you, Terry. Appreciate that. gives us a better worldview over everything. And so we can start off here. I'm going to scroll back at the top, but just because that's where all the questions started. So Gary, you all ready to go and set up? I think one of the very first questions is, how do you set up and get ready to create you have your email there. Okay. And get ready to create all the things that is necessary. So what's the recipe on the counter before you start making the cake mix, or the cake itself rather?
Okay, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
All right, I'm going to start out in the way that I generally start out a campaign. So before I can start a campaign, I'm going to make the attachments that I'm going to use. So I've set this up to do a roof repair and construction keyword set, and I set it for 100. For those of you not sure what you're looking at, this is AI Factory 1046.
So I'm going to interrupt you and like, you know, the one old grandpa that Click keeps talking about to the other one. So you set it up for 100. So why? Can you set it up for 1,000, or is there
No.
limits, or what?
Only 100. But what I can do
Okay.
is I can run 100, then I can add a geo on the next time I run it. So
Mhm.
then I have 200. I can vary it from short tail, long tail, LSI. So I can make so many variations of it. I can make whatever I want to make. Now, I'm gonna tell you a little bit of clue, because all of us like LSI or long tail keywords, right? But for here in the software, when you're making anchor text, if you want more anchor text, then use the short tails. Okay, everybody understand why we would do that?
Oh, couple people.
Okay. The reason I do it, because more of these will show up as anchor text versus a long tail or LSI keyword. So if you want a lot more anchor text in your article, stay with the short. So I'm going to run the GPT-4.
Jane, wait a minute before you go there. James is saying, you know, you do not. So do we need this tool? That is part of the program.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So everybody gets that.
Let me cover that real quick. If you have AI Factory, it's going to automate the content in the calendar stacker, which will show that in the demo. And it's so much faster, quicker. If you don't have it, you're going to have to cut and paste from another AI tool, or you're going to have to write content or get content from somewhere.
Which is fine, because, you know, everybody has probably a dozen tools that they bought. Some they use, some they don't. We build things around, and Terry knows this, it's around Patrick's lazy button, right? Or easy button.
Easy button.
I don't want to go here. I don't want to go there. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I just want to put what I want, click a button, have it completely fill out whatever it is that I'm doing, instead of all the other generative, you know, research, cut and paste, put it in here. And the reason that we created this one is it completely syncs up with everything that we're building content wise within the Calendar Factory. Does that make sense, everybody? Give me a one if that makes sense. Okay. So you don't have to have it, period. But, you know, it's $29 a month, and with the coupon code, it's like $19 a month. It to me, it's worth having it, because it seamlessly brings everything in and saves so much more time. So hopefully that makes some sense.
Yeah. Now, I'm only using this for a keyword tool. I'm not generating articles. I'm not using the keyword strategy. So I'm just going to grab my keywords. Okay. And it doesn't take very long. You will find on occasion in earlier versions sometimes it'll pick up numbers in front of your keywords or commas or something. And if you have keyword translation file, you can go take all that out.
You do me a favor,
Yes.
make your screen as big as you can so we don't get all the stuff in your background. There you go. Thank you.
Now, I get these messages in here sometimes. Don't copy that. So we're gonna grab these keywords. And I'm gonna drop the software down for a second. I'm gonna go over to my docs. I'm gonna make a new doc.
And what's the value of creating a new doc with all your keywords that, and you're going to show the reason for that at some point, right?
We're gonna show you a reason because we're gonna attach it to your calendar.
Right.
But we're gonna take an extra step that most people won't take. So keywords, roofer. Oops. Now, the reason I put restoration is I'm doing this for a specific client. So I'm going to title the document so I know what it is. I could actually bold it, bring it up if I wanted to. And now I've got these keywords. Now I bold it, it's going to bold everything. So what I want to do here, I'm going to go grab a URL.
Now, I guess one of the questions while you're showing this, when he's done, is this something new that you've never seen before, or are you using this technique already? So you can, if you've never seen what he's doing, you can say no right now, or you can say yes if you already know. But it's important for us to know what you know and what you don't know. Okay. The people okay, keep going.
My next step is to insert a link in every one of these keywords. Now, I'm actually stealing a technique that we used in Backlink Factory in a lesser degree. We're going to hit apply, and now these are all linked. Now there's a couple steps that we have to take. This is restricted. We have to change it to anyone with a link. If I want to share editability to, say, a client or customer or a VA or whoever, I can do that as well. Okay? So that's my first piece of the puzzle. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make my authority docs. I'm not going to make 4 of them today. I'm only going to make 2 of them so you can see the process. So we're going to go to a site called Scholar, Google Scholar, in fact. Now, in Google Scholar, this is one of my favorite properties anyway. I can do case
Hey, well,
law.
before you do that, it's an important question to go back to the last. Carolyn's asking, could we use the keyword doc and RFR to do this as well? Remember, we're making keyword doc files in RFR.
I don't know that it would anchor text the keyword file
Exactly the same way, right?
the same way. Could it be a feature we add in the future? It wouldn't take much. A dialog box with your URL. Where this will vary, let's go back to it for a second. Where this could vary with your keywords, you might have, somebody give me a number of a page in their website. How many pages? 5, 7, whatever.
And you say five-page website, yeah.
5-page website. I could divide this list and use all 5 and only link so many to page 1, so many to page 2. That would be real difficult to do in software, but it's easy to do in your Drive. Okay. Is that real clear with everybody?
Yeah, but I mean, literally, as you're saying this, you could do this for each page of your site, whether it's 1 or 500. So
Yes.
that every single keyword that you're doing in this list is relevant to that page, right? Does that make sense to everybody?
Now, when I go to Google Scholar, I wanna put a disclaimer out here. I tend not to use articles. I tend to use case law. And I'm gonna tell you why I use case law. So if I were making, well, let's stay with the roofer niche.
This, everybody pay attention, because this is something that, I mean, if anybody in here is using this system of knowledge and you did not hear it from us, put a 1 in the chat, okay? There might be 1 or 2 people. This is one of the strategies and the power behind why and what we end up getting ranked the way that we do, not only here, but in just regular website strategy, G-site strategy, and so forth, right? This is extremely powerful for you guys to understand on all of what you do in terms of building out sites, okay?
One of the things I want to touch before I run this is some keywords you want to vary your keyword. For example, injury law. If I were to write injury law, and I have, I'm going to get a bunch of ads if I'm not careful. If I take and put injury law, best practices, or some variation of a keyword that's going to pull an article, I eliminate all the ads, or at least 99% of them. So let's go and see what we get. Now, everybody see what we have here? Can everybody see this real well? We have case law, and all of these are, see where it says cited by 18,631 people
Right.
or sites, right?
Those
We're
are
gonna-
citations. They're called
We're going to
citations.
carry those citations into our document. Does everybody understand that principle? Let's go real slow if you're not sure what we're talking about. So I've got something.
Okay.
I got something up here called link gopher.
All right. So if you don't have link gopher, just, it's an extension. I'm not going to put a link in the chat. Co-citations, your link, and Scholar links, correct. So go to Google and search link gopher extension if you don't have what Gary's about to share with you. Link gopher extension, okay?
So we're going to extract all the links. I do carry the domains too.
I know. Nothing, he doesn't leave anything behind.
I'm gonna use all of it. So I'm gonna come over here and create a new document.
Remember where you put this stuff, and keep your drive kind of clean and kind of organized so that you know, aren't trying to look for all this stuff. I'd organize it by your customer, client, or, you know, whatever project you're working on.
I'm gonna name it Roofer Scholar because it tells me where it come from and what the keyword is that we did. And there we go. It's already linked. So again, we have to go and change it from restricted to anyone with a link. Now you don't have to add anybody in that you're.
You could just have it anybody, right?
I'm
You,
just
you
doing this-
wanted everybody, actually.
I just do it so you know what you can do.
No,
Okay.
they're different articles, James, but they're the same. They're within the same genre, right? So it's not one article. So
No.
go back to Scholar real quick, because there's a point that I think is important for everybody to understand. Yes, some of the, Craig's got a good point there. I mean, just don't accept everything, okay?
No.
So you can also look on the left-hand side and you can look at federal courts. You can look at, if the state courts. So one of the interesting things, if you go to 2024 and you go to a federal court or you go to a state court about the subject that you're talking about, how many of you think it might be important and relevant on your site to have case law about roofing in your city, in your county, in your state as a blog? And then you take some of this information here and you use it as a blog post. Obviously, you can modify a little bit yourself, but if you're doing a citation, you can take the direct quote, the direct article, the direct findings, pop it into a blog, and give everybody, the case law. We want case law to be per se. I'll show you how to do that in a second, right? So does that all make sense to everybody? Okay. This is really, really important because it gives you the power of Google case law citations, and it's coming directly to the back end of your site that nobody sees except Google. Make sense? Well, Gary takes everything. He doesn't care. And it doesn't hurt to have everything. Okay. So, and like Brian says, it's topical relevance and it's geo relevance when you sort and search by the city, right? And you have the ability when you go back to the Scholar button so that we can show people what I'm talking about. All right. So when you go do your search in Scholar, go back to the main Scholar site.
Oh, okay.
Just hit it. Yeah, there you go. All right. Now you see where it says articles or case law, federal courts or Florida courts. Okay. So you can, on the right-hand side, you see where it says select courts. I want everybody to watch this. So boom, these are, no matter where you are, obviously in the United States, this does not work for anywhere else. You can pick specifically and drill down. So now you're talking what? Geo relevance, right? Geo relevance. I mean, how badass is this, guys? Right? So we like to take the actual citation article, right? And then utilize the citation article as a blog post and put it out there and reference it back to our site. That makes sense, Chris? I mean, that's a pretty badass way of getting the courts to give you an authority citation. Okay? So don't take this shit lightly. This is stuff that we've been doing for a long time, and it makes a lot of sense. Now, go back over to articles. Just hit articles. You want more blog posts? Boom. You click on articles, you type in what your roofer best practice is. Now, look, sort. I always like to sort by the most recent year, because 2020, let's get real, right? So every single one of these blog posts is coming from technically an EDU. It's a Scholar, right? Right. Like Chris said, Google likes freshness. And these articles are coming from EDUs, and they're coming from libraryopen.org. I mean, you can look at, CDC up there. You see the CDC? How is this not uber super crazy relevant and authority that you're sticking on the back ass side of the postage stamp? Does everybody know what I mean by postage stamp? Right? No, a couple people said no. Okay, so think about what we're doing. And visually, this kind of always helps me, is if you take a postage stamp, there's two parts to a postage stamp. What are the two parts? Who can tell me the two parts to the postage stamp? Real quick. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Front and back. Front and lick 'em or stick 'em, right, James? So think of the front as your website, your G site, your image, your PDF, whatever it is, your YouTube video, and the stick them on the back side, the sticky stuff. That's, think of it as metadata. It's current relevant data, i.e. metadata if you wish, if not, but relevancy to your site. And it's fresh, like Chris said. It's fresh. It's active. It's right now. Are we linking back to these in your keywords that you first showed us? Gary will get back to that in a second. Okay. So are we clear to understand how to use this? And like, if you're using Zista sites and you have all the everything done, make pages for your city on your Zista sites if you're using Zista, and do this. This is badass enough. This will crank it up to another level. Does that make sense to everybody who understands what Zista is? I'm not going to get into it, but it's another website builder. But when you put this on your G site, you've got 90 power on 90 power on 90 power on citations that are 90 power. So you get the point, right? I don't want to belabor this anymore. Does the Scholar method only work for USA? Yes, this is, I don't know. I've never found this, but you could go do a search, but I don't think so. I think it's just a USA. I don't think you could put Canada in there.
I don't think so.
Okay. Just USA. So anyway, let's move off of this. But oh, wait a minute. Look at, there's something new. Look on the left-hand side. What does that say? Create an alert. What does that mean?
Create alert. You can, if you have a keyword, they'll notify you when the articles and case law comes up.
I've missed that, or it's brand new.
Brand new.
So now you don't even have to do this. I wonder, okay, we can play with that later, but that's pretty cool too. Brian, exactly right. That's what I'm thinking, right? Get an alert, RSS, pop it in and go from there. Always churning new content. So this is, if you guys don't mind doing it this way, this is how Gary and I like to teach you, to share with you stuff. It sometimes can get to be a little laborious and long, but you know, that's why we're here. That's why you're here. So, you know, if you have to go, you have to go, but we'll be here for a while. Sorry. Next one. Let's go. Let's go.
I'm gonna go to YouTube. And this is gonna apply to YouTube and search both. If I just did roof construction, I'm gonna pull a whole bunch of ads. So I've got construction tips and tricks. So now,
oh, wait a minute. Look at Terry said there is one for Canada.
Is there?
Badass, Terry. Cool beans, man.
All right. So now I can pull related content.
I mean, I told them not to put my house on there. I said, don't put my house on there. They did it.
There
anyway.
will be a couple ad sponsors, probably 2 as a rule. Now you could take the time to eliminate them if you want to. I tend not to bother. So now notice that YouTube's a little bigger bunch of links. Now, when I make my document this time, I'm not going to put YouTube. I just put tube because I know what it is. That's all I need to know.
Yeah, and you just title it in the top. Tube roofer.
I put restoration so I know what client it's for.
Wow, good find, Terry. That's awesome. I didn't even know that for our Canada friends. Yeah.
Again, don't forget this part. Change it. Done. And basically, I feel that Google has determined 4 to 5 authority sites that they recognize on any niche to be an expert or an authority on. They're gonna Wikipedia, Scholar, Google search, Google News. The problem with Google News is you'll get a bunch of non-relevant content come through. So I tend to stay away from Google News for that reason,
Yeah,
and YouTube.
yeah.
So I'm going to touch on something I haven't touched on for a while. How many people in here use sliders?
I eat sliders. I eat sliders.
Slides. Sorry, slides.
Okay, you're talking about Google Slides, right?
Google Slides.
Okay.
Let me bop over here real quick. Get in my slides.
Okay, while you're doing that, answer this question for Dan. Is the Google Doc you're working on act as a buffer if it's published, or is this doc to be placed within the calendars?
It's an attached to the calendars.
It's not, yes. It's not, it's an attachment to it. It's not in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's no different than than embedding on a G site. I can embed everything I embed on a G site, I can attach to a calendar, including entire websites or other calendars.
Cool, perfect. Move on.
Okay, so in sliders, let's take a look at. We'll pull this one up. I want you to pay attention real close to what we've done here. We actually have a URL into the image itself. We also have, oops, come on down.
No, or just hit me later. I don't want to go messing up my computer to go find the code right now for it, but.
We also add our authority documents, RSS feeds, and other things into the notes. So we've attached the stuff we want into our notes down here.
So here, thanks, Terry. Appreciate it. So question for everybody. How many of you don't know that you can upload your PowerPoint to Google as a slide? Is there anybody that doesn't know that? So you don't have to go make all of this yourself, but if you have a PowerPoint or you're using somebody else's PowerPoint, you can upload it into here and then edit it from here, just as an example, okay? And there's lots of editors and lots of PowerPoint makers and all kinds of different things out there that you can get a hold of. So you don't have to sit here and make these from scratch. Go buy a template, go buy something else and use 80% of it and modify it. So are those links live in the notes, Gary?
Yes. They're being read. They're being read.
Yeah, but you can't click on it.
They're not clickable.
Correct.
Now, let me give you a little bit of a warning with slides.
Yeah, Terry's right. AI can make any any PowerPoint you want. So
yeah,
and then just bring it in.
You can't really use HTML and paste it in here. It just messes up so bad that it'll even take and ruins the image that you put in there. So you can't put HTML into the notes. I've tried it and tried it. It just doesn't work. So
nice one, Alexander. Great.
So we're going to move on and go into the calendar software itself.
By the way, I'm going to interrupt all the time, so don't worry about it, guys.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
But Alexander says, I'm aware, also printed out a press release page with distribution as a PDF, then instantly converted it to a Google Doc on Google. Then they have a lot more conversion tools than you think in terms of this. But Alexander, let me ask you this. When you create your PDF, do you take the time to fully stuff the PDF with metadata? Literally, you could stuff this entire site that we're building right here in the back of your PDF. Do you do that? Don't be bashful. Just say yes or no.
In this case, Alexander's talking about getting a PDF. Like if you buy a press release from Magic PR, you get a PDF listing all the places that's been posted, which then you can convert it to Google Doc attach it to your Google Calendar.
Wait a minute, before you do that, you could do that, but then you can also from that create it into a new PDF and do the whole thing backwards too. So you can do it both ways.
Right, right, because the PDF you get from your press release distribution, you probably cannot edit it unless you have pro software for that.
Mhm.
So, but still, you could incorporate it into adding it to your calendar. So, give it power or embed it in your G site that you're going to add to the calendar. So,
Correct. Here come the rankings, baby, Chris says. We
Yeah.
don't guarantee nor deny that you'll get anything ranked. That's just the way it is.
We're going to cover different. The section that's most confusing to people seems to be right here. So we want to, there's things that we do, we want to make sure we set up correctly. One of them is make sure your auto colors are set. If I turn it off, it's white. It'll gray in if it's set. Event link, if I unlink it, here's what's going to happen with the software. Every event is going to use the target URL, and it's not going to link the events. If I click the events, only the first event will have a target URL. Every other event will have the previous event share link as a target. So you're
stacking them.
Yes.
stacking them. Correct. So I tend to lean towards stacking because if you're just going to use the target URL, you're going to send an awful lot towards that target, and most targets can't handle that. So let's go into
Craig, you can make any amount you want. You don't have to make 48. We just use it because that's how we built the software, and we like to be able to use the maximum that we can within reason. You could actually go to 96, but that's a little bit retarded.
I want to cover how the auto stack function works because that seems to be the most confusing. What it's going to do is take your information. It's only going to create one event at a time. You're setting the time. You're setting your depth. Oops. So maybe we want to go 10 deep. So each time we just click add to stack 10 times. Or we can load a stack that we built that we saved. Is that kind of clear to everybody?
Yeah, Chris is saying if event is on, you're stacking the events.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. But the difference is instead of creating a 7 by 48 or whatever, we're only going 10 levels deep. So basically 7 by 10 or a 5 by 10. If I set Monday through Friday, this becomes a 5 by 10 as I build it.
So why the difference between 10, 15, 5, whatever? The question is why?
It's the amount of power you want. If you use a 7 by 48, that's a tremendous lot of power.
No,
So if you don't have a buffer,
yeah.
you're going to fry something. I mean, talk about frying something.
Mm-hmm.
This could be, and I don't really want to go into what I would call negative SEO, but you could destroy something and hopefully not on purpose.
So the best thing is to start off slow, right? And then gradually you can then build and add more, right? So if it's Diane saying if a new G site, you have to be super careful. A G site's a G site, new or old, it's a G site.
Now, just to clarify for people, when Gary talks about 5 by 10, 7 by 48, he's talking about the first number talks about the days of the week that events be created. And the second one is how many events created each of those days. So, and keep in mind, if it's 5 days a week, 10 events per day, that's 50 events. But that doesn't mean 50 links, because within those events, you're going to have a number of links. So keep that in mind. If you do 10 links, I should say 10 events in a day, that's building more than 10 links, probably, depending on how you structure it, but you probably want to put several links in each event. So once you get the more experience you get with it, you'll know, oh, this is say a brand new site in a tough niche, but it came from a expired domain. It's got some history. I think I can hit my buffer with more events or less events, things like that. You can play around with it. It's a lot easier to add more events than to take them away later.
That's the truth. So let's go a little deeper in this. As I'm doing this, oops, the next event, I want to change the time. Okay. So
Testosterone booster. Oh gosh.
see, so the next one I would do 11:52, whatever amount of time I want. Everybody see how that was done?
Do it again.
Let's do it one more time. So we're going to make the next one at 12. Let's make it an hour later. I'm going to click OK. I would add to stack if I was actually doing that. Okay. Now, for the purpose of the demo, I'm going to go uncheck my auto stacked and bring it down to 48 events. Auto color is there. Event link is there. One of the things I want to show you is right now I have a single target.
Well, that's a good question, because somebody's asking, how are you going to send all this power to that page? Won't you destroy it?
I'm not.
Well, okay.
I'm
Why?
not. I'm just putting it there for the sake of showing people how we're doing this. So if I want multiple URLs, and let's go get some URLs. So this is a G site. So let's go get our copy that link.
Mike, I'm not sure I understand what you use for YouTube videos. You could just bang the shit out of a YouTube video.
Yeah, it wouldn't make a difference. So now we've got that page. Let's change my pages.
So while you're changing that, Chris is asking, so depth is event count?
Depth is levels deep. In other words, 10 events deep. Okay, there are different times. It doesn't matter how far spread they are. It's going to be 10 events in a single day. Deep.
So
You have what it's going to be is a target event, which is number 1. And it's going to have 9 events stacked below it, pushing the previous share link as a new target from the bottom going up, pushing towards the target event. And I'll show everybody what I'm talking about in just a second. Let's go get one more link. So that'll give us 3.
While you're doing that, it says outside of G sites, what do you all use as buffer links to a money site? I mean, in the target URLs. Okay, you could use, everybody can just kind of write your answer in there, but any social, right? Any video from YouTube. Okay, you can put and use those, anything that can, any G site, any G property, right? That will work as buffers. We like to just basically use a Google Doc, and you write a Google Doc, with content on it, and that becomes a buffer with everything that you have in there. It doesn't have to necessarily make sense, but all of the content is there, and then you buffer out from that Google, everything goes to that Google Doc, and there's one single link from the Google Doc that goes to whatever it is that your money site is that you want it to go to, like an inner page on a website, right? Or an event on your GPB, or a post on your GPB, or the review on your GPB. You can make all of this stuff up on the Google Doc, as long as it's relevant. And like we've showed you before, you have the tools to do that, and just push out one link from that doc. That's a real simple buffer page. Does that make sense to everybody?
One thing that I want to show you, even though I've already got these down here as attachments, I want to show you how it's done. This is in a new file. It loads the first 200, but you can scroll down to find more.
So that's our built-in keyword finder. Is that what that is?
No, this is this files finds whatever files you happen to have on the drive that you're in.
Right. Make sure you're in the drive you're in.
Okay.
It was a negative comment because I wanted you to answer it as though somebody that didn't.
Yeah. Now, once we have these attachments, I can change the account and put this calendar in a different account, and it'll still pull the attachments from this drive.
Now you probably confused somebody.
Well, we'll dig real deep with it. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Let me find a couple more.
So if you are working with your VAs and you're working with other people on a team, if you're not familiar with this, you can put all these into a Google Doc, and then you can share them with your team, with your VAs. You can put all that in there, so it makes it seamless and makes it easy too as well, right?
And we'll add a couple more.
Delroy, yes.
Okay. Everybody see how we did that? We just click, go find the files you want in the account that you're in. Now, if I'm going to change accounts, I could change to any of these accounts that I have. And that's where the calendar is going to get created. I'm going to do this one because I have this account up in a calendar. So I'd rather keep it there so we can watch it during the build. So my next step is to put content in here. I can cut and paste, or I can use the AI if I have AI Factory, or I can use another AI, copy what I have, cut and paste it in here. But it's also an editor, so I can make changes, add links, add anchor text, whatever you'd like to do. You can take full advantage of what's in here because you have this. Okay? So I'm going to use AI and show you how it works. And we're going to we have to give it a little bit of a prompt to tell it what to go find. Discuss best oops, no mouse spell.
Gosh, you guys are writing faster than I can read. I just copied, Chris, what your comment from Clint was on suggestions for multiple URLs. Do you always use a buffer or can you link directly to a website? You-
Amazon, YouTube, you could direct link. Etsy, likely. Amazon. But beyond that, I'd use a buffer
Yep.
as a safe practice. Maybe you could get away with it, maybe you can't. But why would you take a risk?
And if you're sending to a buffer whose only outbound link is to your money page,
You only have one link?
you're just washing the links, and you don't have to worry about too much link juice too fast. So it's much safer, no matter where you're sending it, to just get in the habit of using a buffer. The more you play with it, you may find there's times that you don't need it or want to do it. But again, if the buffer is simply a conduit and all the juice going into it is going out to just one place, and that's your money page, might as well use it.
Now, what I can do here with the AI writer, I can make anchor keywords, titles, descriptions, or article. In this case, I've done all the rest. I tend to only use article, but you could use all this. I don't, but it's just a creature of habit. So I need to tell it to write. And as you see the blue bar on the bottom right, it'll tell you its progress, and over on the left, it'll tell you, well, I couldn't even get the words out before it was done. So the way the software is set up, notice your HTML over on the right shows you what the article is and all the H tags and where they're at and so on. So the way we set it up, the links will always go at the top of the article in the event. Anybody have an idea why we do that? Come on, maybe we'll give some coins away.
Nope.
Get the right answer right away.
I don't know. Let's see. I gotta scroll all the way down to find a damn answer here. Hold on. Always make sure the Google Doc is public. I should say yes. It's the first thing that Google reads.
That's not our reason, but it's a good answer.
Bottom gets cut off too long.
There you go, right there. Bingo.
John.
If your link it's truncated the article,
Truncated the article.
truncated, it's going to cut off your link or break it. If it's at the top, it's going to stay there no matter what.
Yeah. John, send me a text afterwards to my Skype and we'll get you some coins, bud.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
Now, the way we've got this set up, we don't generally run into where it cuts it off anymore because of the size of the article. We restrict a little bit. So you're not going to run into it. But if you're using somebody else's AI and you're pasting in here, you could run into it. So we have everything all set. Anybody got a question before I hit run? Anybody want to see this thing in action?
Well, wait a minute. Let's just, before we do that, let's just kind of go back up and answer a couple of the questions before you hit run. All right. Terry, you see anything in there that we need to talk? I'm so far up the scale, I can't see what's down there. When you search your G Drive, does it search only in the root of your Google Drive or also into the folders?
Well, that's a great question. I tend not to use folders because I'm making so much stuff and it identifies the stuff. But when I pulled this today, notice some of the things it's doing. When I come down here, it's going and using OneDrive documents, and I can't see what they are. See that? I don't know what that is, so I don't dare use them. but it's pulling. And if you see my drive, very few people have as much stuff on their drive as I do.
You're just a hoarder.
I'm abusive. If Google had its way, it would charge me with a crime for being so abusive to his drive.
Okay.
Anyway,
Let's,
Let's-
you guys ready to let it roll, or any last questions before we let it roll here? Always make sure Google Doc is public. Exactly. Chris reads the first line first, should say parse it, marked. Yeah, so they don't get cut off. I guess we owe Chris some coins too. All three of them answered at the same damn time.
okay.
So we'll do that.
Good job, guys.
Bottom gets cut off. Do we know the word limit?
No, I'd like to say I know, but I don't.
So
But you're not gonna worry about it with the software we have it now. It just doesn't do that. So if you're using AI Factory internally, you're not gonna run into it. If you run into another AI, you're pasting it. If it's gonna do that, it's gonna
Okay.
turn this whole thing pink inside the event.
So here's another question that answers, something that's always on our mind, and that is, James is asking, does every event have the same exact article, or do they get spun for each event, or does it even matter?
All right, you can use spin text if you choose to. But I want to cover that because it's a fantastic question, and very few people understand calendars. Calendars is unique in all the Google properties. Only Calendar has the features it has. What I mean by that, if an article's already fired and it fired 15 minutes ago, Google sees it as past history and has no value. Doesn't read it anymore other than following the links. So it doesn't exist. If it's present, Google reads it as new content, even though that content was present before.
1,000 times before doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's new content in their eyes. The future content, which
Isn't
you
read
can,
either.
was not read because it hadn't happened.
Right.
So it only calendars is unique in this way that all content, even if it's happened thousands of times before, word for word, anchor text by anchor text, and attachment are all equally the same. It's already in the past and doesn't count.
And the only thing that we can say to that is we've made literally thousands of these exactly the way that Gary's explaining, and we've never had an issue in relationship to what your question is. So just think of it like Gary said. It's like, anybody ever watched the movie 50 First Dates? Okay.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Right? Every day, every date was a brand new date, even though it was with the same guy every time. And so you can look at that as an analogy for what we're doing here. We're having 50 first dates every day. And every day that we have a date, it's a brand new date that never existed before, because it is now, and we don't care about the past, we don't care about the future. Google only looks at now. From the experience that we've had in building these and seeing, we've never been dinged, never had a problem. So hopefully you guys, that'll make sense to you.
Anybody know why that is true with calendars? We got some very smart people out here. Let's see if somebody else can come up with this answer.
Shit, you're gonna make me go all the way down the frickin' bottom, and there's 27 things here, so hold on. Okay, 10-second Tom. Okay. Can you put the links in the end of the event article? Well, what was your question? Nobody's answering your question.
Why is this unique to calendars? What makes calendars different that creates the event to be only read or scored in the present?
Because it's a current event that didn't exist in the past.
Well,
It's
maybe,
a live
but
event. It's a live
it-
event.
here's what when Google designed the calendar event, its purpose happened to be for meetings and such, or webinars, or those type of operations. And so the content would be exactly the same, but they may run that webinar Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Monday through Friday at 3 o'clock. And it's the same information.
Mhm.
So Google made an exception and they built it into how they did this. So it created that set of rules.
Like Eventbrite or whatever, right?
And so we don't use it in that way. We use it for SEO purpose. So we've bent the rules. Think of it as the matrix. Some rules can be broken and some rules can't.
Oh, Clement, you just have to text me later because I gotta throw a couple coins at you. So here's the real reason that it works, right? So it is like Taylor Swift concert. Each new concert is a separate time and a separate place, but songs and acts are all the same.
Exactly.
You nailed it, bud. That's cool.
That's perfect.
Give Clem everybody, give him a 5 for that one. That's retarded. That's cool. That nailed it, buddy. That nailed it. I think we can all understand that one.
So,
Cool reads, man.
any final questions before we hit click?
No,
And run?
still scared of the girl in red dress. Da, 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 blah, 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 blah. Yep, no, let's go ahead. If there's no last questions, question for GMB, real quick. Do we use the GMB link as the target link or use a review link or a photo link as the target link? Yes to all. You forgot posts. Okay. You forgot events. You forgot videos. You forgot reviews. Well, you said reviews. Okay.
Lord, I hope you use a G site as a buffer for all that.
Well, you should do that. But I mean, even still, you can do a direct link to a GMB review. Just don't crush it. Okay. But that's the whole purpose of what we're sharing with you here is you want to find as many places. And I think, Chris, you said this earlier, find as many places as that you can uniquely do the calendars and these events and these keywords and everything that we're sharing with you to anything that you want to power up within Google itself. So anything on a Google GMB is live bait for powering up, but always have safe sex. Always use a buffer, right?
All right, we're going to hit create, guys. I've got my event link checked, auto colors checked, daily.
This software's cheaper than Taylor. And we don't see her 16 times at the football game either. So. Yep. I'm sorry, Gary, go ahead.
You're okay. Now comes the fun part, guys. We're creating the calendar. Now, this used to be a lot faster, but it would have been more dangerous. So we had to create a random element in between the events. So that number will change every time in between how long it takes to post. So while that's posting, we're going to drop this down. We're going to run over to a calendar. And we want to go up and kind of cover this particular calendar. Okay. This link is the target link. Everybody see that?
Yep. Now, where'd you get that target link from? And how'd you add it?
the software put it in there. Remember, we added a target link in the software.
Well, I just, you're like, I have to know that, right?
Yes. Well, this was the one that we created on the previous webinar.
Okay, is it a single link or can you add more than one link at
This particular one is a single link,
but
but
will the software
watch-
allow you to add more links in that juncture?
well, what it's going to do is anchor text to your target throughout the software. See, what you have here, if you look down here, the software is giving us the URL it's going to at the bottom. So it's anchor text these. Now notice something it did do with these anchor texts. These are H tags.
Mhm.
See that? So it's even anchor texting our H tags. So that tells you that our H tags were great keywords and the software picked it up.
No, I mean, that's what Chris built in because we
Yes.
want to do that, right?
We want to do it, yes. So when we get down here, notice the number of attachments we've added.
No,
I did.
before you go into that, I mean, that's got a good point, and I think we've all talked about this before. At some point in time, if you're doing client work and you do a really good job, how many of you guys have ever had the client say, "Hey, you've done such a great job. We're getting so many leads that we just don't need you anymore"? Give me a 1 in the chat if that's ever happened to you, right? So, yep, Chris, LC, I know we all have. I mean, I lost a solar client because we did such a good job that, they said, "We don't need you anymore." I said, well, now they're begging because, okay, please turn off SEO. We are fully booked. Yes. So that doesn't help you make any money, right? So what can you do with everything that we're sharing with you here to protect yourself and find a new client? Turn on the one link that goes off to the site from the buffer. Change the links, cut it off, change your links. Change the links to the calendar, modify the calendar. Okay, redirect the link juice, LC, is it correct? Replace it with a new client by literally turning everything from what? From public to, what's the word?
Private.
I didn't ask you.
Oh.
Okay. So that everybody who doesn't understand this, when you take everything that you've done publicly, which Gary's sharing with you on all the stuff that's public, it's like literally a light switch. When you go turn everything that you've created from public to private, Google doesn't see that anymore. Right? But see, James, you could sell the leads to their competition, but you have to redirect where those leads are going because they're all going to, and the power is going to their site, going to their GMB and so forth, right? So now all we do is redirect it to what? Their URL, their GMB, their new target. Yeah, that's a better target is a broader term than what I'm saying. And Richard's got it perfectly set up that way and to explain it, right?
Right here's where we can edit it, guys.
Yeah.
Click the ink pen, edit your link if you lose a client.
Okay. So how long on average do their rankings tank after pulling their links? I don't know. I mean, you don't know what else they've done to boost what else, but trust me when I tell you, the tank comes at some time pretty quickly. And it's fun to do that too. It's like, okay, you want to screw with me? All right, let me show you what I can do. Okay. The main link was in the very first part of what Gary was sharing in the demo, Diane, at the very top on the right-hand side where it says link.
Can't remember what I named the calendar.
Probably something roofing.
Roofer Phoenix 1.
All right. So slow down a
That's it.
second.
That's it. We got it.
So you're seeing it being built right now?
Yeah.
So literally, guys, what you're seeing with the software that we've rebuilt for you is that Gary used to do this by hand. And how long did it take you to just make one calendar?
If I did a 7x38, it would take me right at 5 hours. If I went farther, it would take 6 hours.
And you know what you're doing.
And that's staying absolutely focused. I mean, you could hear a pin drop in the background. I mean, that's the kind of focus it takes to do it. So let me take a look.
So while that's, go ahead. Now look at the content and look at the anchors, and you can see why we set up this the way that we did, right? So Chris has got a question. Can you explain how to add multiple attachments again?
Yes. Go back to the software. It says right here to the left, add G drive attachments. So you click the 3 dots. You can use a keyword,
To find that in your drive.
find it and narrow it down if you wanted. And you could, whatever you've got, you just, now if you click shift after you hit your first one, you could just grab a whole bunch.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
Okay.
The calendar you're building now is 7x48 or 96?
This is 7x48. So when we go down here,
Okay.
it goes 7 days a week, but it also go to infinity. In other words, my grandchildren's grandchildren will be here and I'll be long gone, and these things are still clicking.
As long as Google's clicking and calendars is clicking, it'll click.
That's it.
Does anybody get goosebumps watching this? I mean, literally, I'm not being funny because, you know, this is so amazing and unique. And there's absolutely nobody in the entire world. Nobody. I don't care how smart they are, whatever.
See,
They can't even clone what we're doing because they can't figure it out. Right.
This is the link. You can look at the bottom of my screen if you could read it, and it'll tell you it's a calendar event link. So it tells you the software is doing what it's supposed to do. It's linking the previous event.
So why all the different colors? Someone's asking.
The colors are, we separated the colors to make it easy if you went in and edited, so you could remember what color and what sequence and where you left off. If I had to change things, let's say I lost a client, I would go in and edit the target link to start with, and I'm going to tell it to make this and all
Future
events. So I only have to edit one time, one event, and tell it to copy it. Now, that's not true if you use the target all the way through. If you're stacking, that's 100% true, because the stacking is only going to link to the previous before it until you get to the target event. This is your target event, the first one it made. That's the actual URL that you're targeting.
Right.
And it happened to be a Google site. Now remember, we put 3 targets in here. So it's going to have different pages. It's going to link to different pages in the site.
So, you know, we don't expect everybody to get this right away, but within the Skype room, people are in there. They've been using this for a long time. If you have a question, there will be somebody in there that will surround you and try to help you. Gary and I will try to help you. Richard Roy try to help you. You know, Terry's in the room. He'll try to help, right? So don't think like you're on an island here. I mean, it is overwhelming, but the only thing that's overwhelming is understanding the very first process. And once you get that nailed, you know, you can literally get up in the middle of the night and make one of these things in 15 minutes.
Look at this, guys. It pulled in my city and every map and everything else.
Mm-hmm. Diane says, I honestly feel like now I can do this. Thank you very much.
And to add to Diane's question, you can go in, like Gary was just showing how to edit these calendars. You can go in to edit your calendar, one that's just posted or about to post, edit it, and you can make changes to it and then save them to all future events. So you can add stuff to it if you build more properties that you want to add to it. From your G Drive, stuff like that. If you get this software, I'm going to tell you this is a great little nugget from this webinar. Can make you a few bucks. Right now, Google is seems to be favoring what used to be called article marketing. Now it's called parasite SEO. Same thing. You put an article on someone else's property that ranks well. So whether it's a Medium, a Reddit, LinkedIn, Quora, things like that. So you could create one of those, have your calendar go to it, and it's your buffer. That way, you got a good shot at ranking this parasite article that has your information and a link to your money page, and through it, rank your money page. Because, hey, why have just one spot on page 1 when you can have a couple?
Exactly.
One of those powerful
Okay, guys.
SEO sites as your buffer.
Software is finished running. How long did it take for us to create a 7x48?
No, it was about 6 minutes.
Under 15 anyway, right?
Well, I mean, you were really slow.
Okay, that I guarantee you is at least 6 hours of hard focused work to match this. What we did in 15 minutes. Once we did our prep work.
So while that's, and we're going to get to that in a second, but Chris, I brought you up here to ask a couple questions. It's hard for me to answer them in that fashion. So if you want to just fire up a couple questions here while Terry and me and Gary are here.
Yeah, so if Gary, just quick question. So I understand you have a single link, and then if we use the event button, basically you're linking all events back to themselves. But is that per day? So meaning every day it's going to recreate the first single link and then link back to daisy chain the events, if that makes sense. I hope
I know what you're asking.
Okay.
This is my first event right here.
Yes.
Tomorrow, this is the first event tomorrow.
Right. So is it going to recreate that?
It's going to recreate. If I open tomorrow, Monday's up. This hadn't happened yet.
It is there. Okay.
Every
But
day
if
is
I-
a new stack.
If I mouse over, I can look at the bottom and I can see that this is a G site link. So that tells me it's the right target link. If I go, let's go into the future. We'll go into April or so. If I pull this up, on the target lit row, it's going to have that G site right there. Now, realize we put 3 links, so they won't all be the same, and they'll mix them up a little bit. Whatever it was on the original will be the same on this one in the order. It's not going to vary the order.
Okay, so and those ones, those are your multiple links, or those are the links you created within the article for the ones that are in,
Oh,
roofing?
the software created them in the article based off the keywords.
How does it know what the URL is going to? Like you would have to
I'll show
specify.
you. All right, let's pull this.
URLs you give it,
let's-
Chris. If he clicks on one of the events later in the day, you'll see that they link to a previous event.
Can you still see my screen, Chris?
I can, yeah.
I put 3 URLs in here. Okay? Those are my targets. The keywords, the software is going to take these URLs according to the keywords it finds and place them only in the target row. In other words, only the top row will have those targets. If I drop here below, what I'm going to have is a share link to an event, which is my target in this case because it's number 2. It's in the second row. So what we have here is a calendar event. As I mouse over, I look down and I can see calendar / event question action D template and yeah, a bunch of gibberish, but it's a code that links to the target URL row because this is number 2. In number 3, we'll link to number 2.
Yeah, daisy chain. Yeah.
Mhm.
Daisy chain
Mhm.
all the way
Mhm.
down till you get to number 48, which will link to 47. So everything pushes the juice back to number 1. So when it fires and Google reads that firing, it's going to follow these links. Even if it doesn't read them, it's going to follow them. The bots are still going to follow the links. Okay,
Yeah.
does that make sense?
It does. So you're using the power of Google to create a loop, more or less. Daisy chain them together.
Yes, yes.
And so one last question, inside your multiple URLs, if you go back to the earlier screen for me, Gary.
Sure.
No, sorry, right
Oh,
with
the software?
yeah, the settings.
Okay.
So when you use that multiple URL, you have the blue check mark for that option. It is going to rotate through those to use that in the first anchor link.
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Now you could use spin text if you only want to use multiple URLs and only use one at a time and change them. It'll do that.
What's the maximum you can put in there? Someone's asking.
I don't know that there is a maximum. It'll just keep scrolling down.
Okay.
I just would think you're diluting your power too much if you overdo it.
So what would spin text do? Spin the anchors? You wouldn't
Spin
want
the
to.
anchors.
Okay.
Exactly what it'll do.
I don't know
Now,
why you have spin text.
here's
I don't
why. Here's why you could do it and want to do it. Maybe.
Okay.
Let's say I had an Amazon book, for an example, right?
Right.
I'm gonna uncheck my link, and now the 48 stack that we would have done is gonna have the URLs rotating in every single event. It's not gonna stack
The
the
events.
events.
Right.
Yeah, that's huge power.
Okay. So if I were doing that, now the spin text switching these around makes sense, right? I could use
still-
spin,
I
I
still
could
don't
use
know why
spin
you'd want
text
spin
there.
text.
Well, just gives you one more option to find what's the best practice, what works best.
So
Wait a minute.
how many links can you put in that box to use for spin text to just spin them around all the time?
There's really not a limit
Right,
for
exactly.
spinning.
So Chris, think of the fact that you're putting 40 links in there. and you're using spin text to flip those around in the content and where we're going to point to things, just gives you another option to do different stuff. I mean, I don't know that we can pinpoint and say that's the best way of doing it, or this is the best way of doing it.
Chris, this
Yeah,
is the
go ahead,
best
Terry.
way of doing it.
What's it? What's that?
This
Terry?
is the best way of doing it. If you've got,
Right.
say you've got the number of events you're doing in a day is a multiple of 12. You can
Okay.
say, I'm going to use a Spintax, have 6 of them be this link, 2 of them be this link, and the rest individuals. So you can proportion out your use of links by using in your Spintax, say 12 links, 6 of which are identical. You see what I'm getting at? So then even though it would spin them, half of those spins would result in a given link. Or
Yeah.
whatever percentage you wanted to use.
I'm probably gonna have to run it and just see what the output is, but
Sure.
I'm following you guys now.
Okay.
I understand why the necessity for the button there.
Yeah, there might be times when in your Spintax, you would use the same link multiple times so that that link would be used twice as many as another link.
Yeah, it gives you another layer of options, I guess.
Mhm. And whatever works best for what you're trying to accomplish, and only you can figure that out when you're doing it. We can't. We just give you the opportunity to test it and check it out and see what works best for you.
Yeah, it's all about strategy. I agree.
Mhm. Cool. Is that all your questions at the moment?
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Patrick.
Okay. All right. You're welcome, bud.
Okay, any more questions we can deal with?
36.
36.
Uh-huh.
Are we in Vegas?
If you get fired by a client fires you, you can just go into the calendar and delete a calendar and any future events.
Yeah.
But why do that when you've got the power coming? You might as well redirect it. But if you
That's
don't
it right there.
redirect it, and you don't want to just change it from public to private, if you want to get rid of it, you can.
Yeah, sure.
It's in your Google Drive. You have that Gmail has power over it to just shut it off if you want, to delete it if you want, or edit it if you want.
Hey guys, guess what's gonna happen when you change that target URL and their GMB drops from number 2 down to number 27? What do you
Whatever.
think is gonna happen?
Well, one thing that should happen is your prices should go up.
Exactly.
Absolutely, because guess what? When that client hired me, labor was a lot cheaper than it is now. And I've already filled that slot, so I gotta train new people in order to take him back on.
Liar. Liar.
That's a 20% premium.
Oh, you're cheap, dude. That's way too cheap. So here's a question. Like, you see where you have your sites.google up there in the box up there. Dan's asking, why can't we put POI factory maps up there?
You can.
And what would be the benefit of that?
Well, Maps has a lot of power, but you're pushing your maps.
Right.
You're backlinking your maps in a sense.
So the point is that you can put anything that you want up there. Just like if you do POI and you've got 50 links, map links coming from various places in your neighborhood to you, the business, you can put those in there and you can accomplish the same thing by pushing map links is basically what the point was. Or you could do the same thing with your, like I said before, you could do the same thing with your Google reviews. You could do the same thing with your images, your photos, your events, your products that you have on your GMB that you're selling, right? So all of those are links within your GMB, and you could put those in here and drive all the same type of process and juice to those that you are when we're trying to drive it to a website or whatever your purpose is, correct? Does everybody understand that? That makes sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Richard, with great power comes great responsibility. I read that somewhere, Richard. Delroy, quick question. Is there a need to create multiple stacks per client? For example, one stack per service that they offer?
I would hesitate to do that way. What I would do if it was me, I would create the G site to do that and take all the G site pages and push the calendar with multiple pages as targets, use the multiple URLs and do it that way. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm. One stack per important page, home and services is kind of like what his question was.
That's gonna be
Yep.
a better approach or best practices method rather than directly linking the target that way.
And like you said, parasites are doing crazy. That's one of the reasons I keep going back to Zista, but that's one of the reasons these Zista pages are doing so good as well. You know, plus there's some core stuff in there too, but it's pretty cool. I definitely understand more than when I started. I'll probably need to rewatch, but thank you so much. Well, Helen, thank you. Appreciate it. Stacking, cloud sites, also good buffers. Who's got a question here? Will the AI writer produce content in a different language? Mike
Yes.
James. Yes, it will. Any language you wish it to. Do the multiple URLs allow us to send multiple buffers?
Yes.
Okay. Chris, you're answering these questions before we get to them. Thank you. Under the same calendar name, can I run another calendar campaign that starts at a different time? That's interesting.
Let's go ahead and show you that. I think I saved this one. So
Okay.
if I click reset and it clears everything out. If I click load,
Now the only way you can click load is what?
it was saved.
Right. So whenever you build these, please, please, please never ever leave before you save what you built. Because you can reload this, change a couple parameters and refire it and go again. That make sense? So once you get a hang of this, Chris, you're going to be my my voice piece over there at Cora. Play with Cora, run a Cora report, and then take some of the stuff that you're getting in the Cora report, especially like the content for writing titles and blog posts and accordions, and then build some of that stuff into the builder here for calendars and pop that into the calendars and see what it does from your client just using the Cora report. And if you don't know what a Cora report is, it's I don't have the capacity to explain it, but Terry and Chris do. Where you click to make sure. Now everybody's asking, can you show again really quick where you click to make sure it's just one outgoing link?
In the software,
Mm-hmm. We just put
Single-
one link in the box.
single target has to be checked.
Yep.
You want multiple, you gotta click multiple.
The keywords in the box just below the color bar are where in the calendars. Once the software runs, the keywords in the box just below the color
Anchor
bar.
anchor text keywords, anchor keywords.
Okay.
Okay. You paste in your keyword file. Remember when we ran this, what I did is I went over to my doc. I found my keyword file. Once it loads up,
While you're doing that, how many folders can you create in one Google Drive? I've never hit
don't know
them.
the answer.
That was just an answer to Alexander was wondering how many different clients you could
Oh, okay.
in a given Google Drive. And I said, depending, as many folders as you could build, you could have a
Folder
For
for each client.
client.
Exactly.
But
Right.
Yeah.
for free, Alexander, today only for you. You can put as many emails as you want. Just fill
See?
it out.
Right there. There, I just loaded 100 keywords. if I wanted to load another roofer file, I could go back, go find another roofer keyword file.
Yeah.
And we could keep, you could put a number in there. Well, here's another one. See, so let's grab part of this one. Oh. Oh,
Jamie's asking, can you go over adding accounts? I seem to be doing something wrong.
yes, yes. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Let me add this. Then we'll jump into accounts.
Guys, is this helpful? I mean, is this worth the time being here and understanding and, hopefully solve some of the issues? And now you can go back and help other people that may have some of the same questions within the Skype room. That's kind of like how we work here.
All right, to do the accounts, you gotta go into settings, manage accounts. Now, when you open the software, it's gonna ask you if you want to do the tokens. You always say yes, because what it's gonna do is it's gonna check your Drive, your Blogger, Calendar APIs, update the authors, authorizing them. So if I was going to add, let me just add one that I've already got in here, so I added it a second time.
Excuse me.
Now what it's going to do is it'll automatically put the email in. So at that point, I have to.
It automatically put it in because you've added it as a new
Yes.
account at the top. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
So now it's asking me for a code. So
Yeah, to go here. Can't help you there.
oh, let's see what it is. And there it is. So we go.
Yeah. While he's doing that, Alexander, and everybody else, look, try to do this in small pieces. Don't go do 250 keywords and all this other crap. Just make something very simple, very small, get the process down, and as you get more familiar and more comfortable with it, then start beefing it up and doing a little bit more and so forth. Does that make sense? I mean, you don't need to eat the whole pie, when you go to the restaurant. Just get a slice. Like Terry said, these calendars are being built on your own Google Drive account. So you can do what you wish without restrictions. Exactly.
Okay. Sometimes it'll do a double verification on you. It's asking me to change my password. I'm not going to do it. And once you get all that done, you just have to allow it to do everything that the software needs to do. Now, we've added in there twice now, see?
Mm-hmm.
So that's all there is to it. Now you can delete some out of here if you want to. You can recheck them, export. You could import the file if you know where it was from another software. But
So
that's how you add your accounts. Now to do another one.
Can I ask a question real quick, Gary?
Sure.
So when I do that, it populates and everything's perfect. And essentially inside of the account on the other side, inside of the calendar stacker, you can see the name of the Gmail. However, I know you have niche in there. And so I just named the niche more so what the website is about or, a topic. Go ahead.
I don't tend to use the niche myself. Simply
Deal.
because it serves no SEO purpose for what we do. The only purpose it would be is separation of local clients.
Yeah, so the only reason why I ask is because it gets confusing when you go back to the other side and it asks what brand you want to use, but the brand,
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
name of the Gmail. It's like,
Brand, the brand is simply what you count that you're gonna use. That's
yeah, it
all
just
it is.
doesn't give any reference to what the website is about, right? So I have
No,
random Gmails, right? And I even purchased Gmails, so it's literally like whatever it is, you know.
right. Now, for best practice, let me tell you what I do.
Okay.
I'm always gonna create in my primary account drive all the documents, sliders, documents, whatever I'm going to use as attachments are all going to be on one drive. I can create the calendar once it's attached. Once we attach those attachments, before I actually create the calendar, I can then change the account and create the calendar in a different account, and it'll still pull the attachments over from the software. That this makes it easy to and takes away the confusion of trying to remember which drive you created, which documents for which client. If you have all your documents in one drive, create the calendars across the board. That's just public stuff. Okay. But you don't want to be searching across all these drives to find the document for what you're working on. So create them all in one drive. Does that make sense?
Can you create them all in one drive and create a different folder for each of them for in your drive so that you can separate them that way?
Well, you could do it that way.
Okay.
I've never done it that way. So look, if I go to my drive, I got just to go through my docs, just to give you an idea. This is not my drive. This is just the docs. And it'll keep scrolling down for ages.
So you just like to put everything in one drive, so you just use your keyword to pull up what you want, right?
All I need is my keyword.
Right.
That's it. Now, there may be a better way to do it, but we really haven't started using folders per se. So it'll probably pull them up as a folder. You could try it, and the
Yes.
software will probably pull it without much problem.
Yeah, that's something you could play around and test with, Chris, and see if it makes more sense and logical, because confused mind sometimes doesn't know what it's doing.
I mean, you can see we're just keeping on. And I've got my G sites is like this, and my sheets and my sliders and everything else. So I have a very, very large drive that I have to pay a little extra for.
I gave you $3 for your drive.
Yeah. Okay.
That help, Chris?
Real quick, I just want to add in, if you don't have this software, get it, play with it. You'll be impressed. I've got to get off here. I've got something else to attend to, which is double speak for my wife's home, and I want to. But
All right, brother. Appreciate you.
you
Thanks,
guys
Jerry.
take care.
Have a great afternoon, Jerry.
If any of you have any questions, I'm in Skype, and you can find me in the calendar group too. So,
All right, thanks, buddy.
here.
Jerry mentioned that when he's talking with a prospect, he'll work for $1 for 30 days. And after pointing these calendars to a client site, how much ranking movement has he experienced? Well, he's left, but I can tell you that he has numerous current customers and clients by making that offer to them and proving the results to them. And I'm sure that he's doing more than just the calendars, but you know, other stacks and other things that you might want to do as well. But, you know, I remember him telling us a story about, you know, one guy didn't want to do anything. So we took him out to lunch and he said, the guy said, well, just do it for free. And, you know, if you're so good. And Terry said, well, I can't do it for free, but I'll tell you what, if you want to be my client, you know, just give me $1 and that'll be a client relationship. And I'll work for you for 30 days. And at the end of 30 days, we'll take a look at the results and see if you would like to continue to working with me or you would like me to give away what I've done to your competitor. So that works. He's got numerous customers and clients, you know, on that pitch. And I can validate that because I've seen them. Okay. Chris, you okay now? You good with all that?
Yeah, I appreciate the answers, guys.
Okay. All right. All right. We're going to kind of just finish up here and we've got 42 messages to clean up and then we're going to kind of call it a day and if we have to, we'll do another one next week. Chris answered the one question with power, you know, RSS feeds, Google Scholar, all that. So thank you for that. Terry answered that one. Makes sense. Good ideas. Let's see what we got here. So we can make several calendars on one Google account. I think we just kind of proved that. Let's see, what else do we got? Why does the email column show some emails as a name and number? Only one is showing WebAd 77 rest are emails.
Oh, you mean in the software?
Yeah,
Well,
that's what you named them, right?
no, the software names them. This pulled it from the primary name of the account, and then it started listing them by owner, so it puts a number in place afterwards. So when you hit the drop down, you get to choose what account you're going to be in. So you remember we added Gary's chat back in a second time?
Mm-hmm.
So there it is.
Right.
See? So, I mean, basically you're looking at a feature of the software itself and how it names it. Now, the actual email is in this column right here.
Right. Okay, so multiple accounts will add more power to the target, question mark?
Well, it's kind of a hard question to answer because there's so many variables, like the niche, the competitiveness. There's so many other factors involved that you can't pinpoint something. You have to be flexible, is the best way I can put it. If what you're doing isn't enough, you add more. If it's too much, you got to drop it back.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to say if anybody has any questions and Dave Stringham is in the room, ask him what he did because he just built an entire calendar, an entire stack while we've been on this call. So easy now. We called you out, Sir Dave.
Piece of cake.
Yeah. Yeah. So
nothing hard about the software, folks. Once you get a pattern of doing it,
yeah,
you can just, I mean, it works smooth as silk. It'll run right through everything you need to run through, and it'll do whatever you tell it to do.
So is there anybody here that's not in the United States at the moment? Anybody? Can we run a multiple PCs with the same license? No. One license, one computer. If you have okay. So there's a lot of people, Peru, India, okay. So we're gonna kind of share with you how many of you guys did not see our idea on how to use zip codes to go. Did anybody not see that? Because I don't want to be redundant if we have only a few people that Okay, missed it, didn't see it, shot. Okay. All right, so Gary, pull up your screen. Now, if you're in a different country, you'll kind of have to figure out how to do what we're gonna share with you in terms of local and being able to utilize these ideas and concepts with power stacks and driving directions and so forth. So if anybody's seen this before, Diane Hill's got to leave and a couple other people's. So if you're in the States, I want you to zipcodestogo.com. You see it at the top up there. Okay. So the recording better be on, or we're in deep shit. Yeah. Okay. It's on. So if you look over on the right-hand side, you'll notice that at the very bottom, you can play with this as it's a free service. There's no cost. It doesn't pay to buy their database either. So you see where it says zip code radius search, right? So if we click on zip code radius search, no, the bottom one, Gary.
Oh,
That was the script. You want to scroll down to the bottom where you can click on it. Bottom. No, stop. Above the word database, simple data, right there.
right
There you go.
there. Oh,
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm doing it this way because I could show you and then it would go over very quickly. So in the chat, somebody give me a zip code. Let me wait a minute. I can't even see the chat anymore. There we go. Give me a zip code. 984813. 984813. Richard, you are really slow, dude. Okay. So now the way that we do this is, think of it this way. We're dropping, it's a very, very calm
1 mile.
day.
You
No,
want
hang
one?
on. You got too many digits in there. What is it? 98. Somebody, I can't, I'm in a different screen right now. 98413. Okay, so here's what I want you to think of. It's a calm day. You got a pond in your backyard, right? You're on the float out there, and a bird flies over and poops in the middle of the pond. And it falls down, it hits the water, splashes up, and what happens? Right? It ripples. It ripples and continues to ripple and ripple and ripple and ripple. But there was a center point where that started from. So if we take that zip code, and hopefully it's a dense area, and go distance 1 mile, that's what the one mean, and hit search, So this is what? Within 1 mile? Holy shit. That's cool. Try half a mile. Say 0.5. Okay, let's go up. Okay, so you'll get the idea. So literally what we're going to end up doing here is we're going to copy all of the files from the zip code on the top left, right under the word zip code. So put your cursor on 98348 and drag and copy all the way down to the right. All the way down, copy all the way down to, nope. There you go, all the way down. Now hit copy. So what we're going to do with this, guys, is we're going to take and open up a Google Sheet. A brand new sheet. Okay. And in the A1 box, just type zip codes to go. We'll share this with you afterwards, but okay, so in A1 box there, A1, put your cursor in A1 and hit paste. All right, so if we're going to start to do a proximity and use calendars or use Backlink Factory or use any other, PBN or anything else that you want to use, this is a way for us to be the pebble dropping in the water. And now we're going to start to move out. So just as an example, click on 98348 in zip code, the very top one. Click on the very top one. I want you guys to see something. All right, zip codes to go. Now, can somebody tell me why this link might be important if we want to link to and from to our parking lot? Right? Relevance, geolocation. Okay, perfect. Those are the two key factors, if that's making sense to everybody. Okay, so now what we want to do is, as we build this out, then Gary, you can go back to the map that you just were at. Go back to the not the map, but go back to the document, the Google spread, the document. Go back to your Google Doc. Now, click on Summer, Washington, the second one. What's that? That's going to be your map, right? So when you open that, it's going to be a link to that specific place. So we'll deal with that link later and push it. Well, you can do it and push it in there and see. You're going to end up getting more content, more data, and more relevancy. Very little bit, but that's going to talk about that particular place. So now we drive links from this using and putting them in calendars even, or Backlink Factory or POI Factory, and we're driving directions to our place. Does that make sense to everybody? Now go back to the other link that we have, the third link, and open it up. And you'll see that we have now just under Pierce, because it's all Pierce County. Now go to the right. There you go, that one. That's going to be the Pierce County, Washington map. So what we're building here is we're building a system of links that are bringing you back into this place here. Now this is the county, so this is all the links. So when you get the county link, you get all of this with that one link, and then you do the same thing here and you build out these links back to your parking lot. Am I making sense to everybody? And I'll go over this a little bit more in depth. I know it's getting late and we're kind of here at the end, right? But I want you to see and play with this zip codes to go. And once you create the sheets, like Gary's created right there, what you want to do is start off with a half a mile. Then you build a sheet underneath at line 105, right? And that goes from a mile. Then you go 3 miles. Then you go 5 miles. Then you go 10 miles. Then you go 15 and 20 and 25. Right? Do we make the sheet public? Absolutely. Okay. So now you can see that once you get to the 25 miles, what we end up doing is we're linking 25 miles to 20, 20 to 15, 15 to 10, 10 to 5, 5 to 3, 3 to 1, and so forth. We link them together, and we'll show you how we do that manually, but we have a software that we use called POI Factory, and it does it all for us. But it doesn't matter. Once you're doing all of this and you look at what you can do in calendars, you can put all these freaking links and do this same thing into your calendars. Light bulb, anybody? Relevancy, anybody?
How about topical relevance?
Yes, sir. Right? And it's power on power on power on power on power on power. All right. So we'll get in. I'll do a complete different training on it. I just want to show you that when you're dealing with the calendars, and now you have all of these other things that you can put into the calendars, and you can stack into the calendars and hide in the calendars and put on your G sites and build a G site to push all this stuff out and hide it all. That's where a lot of this comes into play in a power position. So go back and take the very first zip code up there. No, dude. No. Nobody is shutting down Google G sites.
Oh,
Nobody. What they're shutting down is the Google site that you could have built within your GMB. Make sense to everybody? The Google site in your GMB, your business profile site, is what they're killing. They're not touching G sites. Not at all. All right. So business sites are going away, not G sites. That's a much better way of saying it, Brian. Thank you. Okay. So open up another tab. And we want to build out our location pages like Terry was talking about, our parasite pages, and we want to have relevancy of content. All right. Now open up a brand new tab in a browser. 98352. Type in your browser events in 98052, I think is what it was. It doesn't matter what it is. Okay, now click, yep, zip code. Now click that, all right? So once we do this, what do you think we can do with this? Guys, what can we do with this? I can't. Yep, I know, that's cool. But give me an answer. What can we do with this? What did we just do? Events, create your own events. You could, but let's stay with what's already here. Think about this for a second, right? What tool did we show you got? There you go. There you go. Link Gopher it. So you go up to the top and hit Link Gopher, extract all links, bada boom, bada bing. Are you guys okay? Did anybody fall off your chair yet? All right. Now you've got all those events that you can tie into the links, you know, and I can just keep going on and on and on about this. So if you guys want, we can set up another time just to specifically do this training. But man, when you talk about stacking and stacking and stacking and stacking and stacking, power on power on power, and relevancy on relevancy on relevancy, and you put all of this inside this nice little bubble that Gary just showed you today. What do you think? Worth learning? So we'll do that on a different time and show you how it actually can make a difference. And as that bubble, that rock in the pond pebbles out, I don't know if Randy's still here, but Randy is the very first one who understood this process, and really as an outsider coming in, Craig, I'm only going to post it to people that pay me $50. So hopefully you're going to stay till the end. I'm just teasing. Yes, of course we're going to do that. Yeah, Randy's not here anymore. He's gone. But when he learned this process with what we were teaching him by using backlinks to the POI and the driving directions from the events back to the parking lot, he was able to get his son's dentist practice. And I'm not saying this is, you're going to get this or anything else, you know, small town, little town, big town, all kinds of variables. But he was able to get his son's dental practice ranked in the GMB 3-pack 25 miles away. Okay. So that's the potential power from this. Can you do a training on how to use the buffer sites? Yeah, Richard says, I'm running rank tracker reports for Randy. Yep. Thanks, Richard. So, all right. I'm tired of talking. So I'm going to call it a day for all of us, but I wanted to give you that little nugget. And Chris, think about this. If you're still here, how valuable would this be inside a Quora report, inside what you're picking up at Quora, to bring this kind of relevancy internally, as well as the report itself?
Infinite possibilities. I mean, literally, there's so much that you can stack, the zip codes to go. You can do, geo relevance to the GMB side of things. You can stack on, all your branded properties on the organic side of things. Infinite, infinite, infinite.
All right, cool. Well, I appreciate you showing up and being with us today, Chris, and hanging in there and asking the right questions and answering some of the questions for people. That was awesome of you. But literally, guys, that's TRS. That's the ranking store. That's who we are. Some people think we're old grandpas. I won't mention who thinks that way, but there are people that we know that love us, but they still call us old grandpas and whatever. So it's all right. But thanks for all being here, and hopefully it was worth your time and effort. And when you learn these calendars, dude, I'm telling you, Katie bar the door, the atom bomb will hit. It's just a matter of when, how, and how much. So thanks, everybody. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a great day, everyone.